Hello, everybody, and welcome to the New Ways podcast. My name is Shel Fuller, aka The New Ways, and today I'm happy to welcome our special guest, Stephan Nero, to the podcast. Stephan has been making amazing music for years now. I originally met him about 14 years ago, and we've had contact and friendship over the last, since 2010, I believe it was. He has over 6 albums and numerous singles and maxi singles with tons of remixes and things of that sort. I have done many remixes for him in the past, and so many, in fact, that I was able to release the album Revolution, which is basically just all of the remixes that I did for him. And one of the things I'm always thankful for with Stephan is that I had only done at the beginning, I was just at the sort of the start of producing music, and he gave me really the opportunity to just remix him without restriction and just allow my ideas to flow. And it wasn't about if he liked the remix or not, it was giving me the space to have my artistic vision as part of his original creation. So that's something I always appreciated, and it was really a joy to always had to be able to do remixes for him. So today we're going to talk about some of his new releases, talking about his style, some of his past performance experience and things of that sort. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Stephan Nero.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Well, that's great.
A second
So,
ago, I'm sitting here, I'm like, hello, hello, but I think
hello. Yeah,
it takes a second for everything to kick in. So,
yeah, I realized that because I had Zoom with my MacBook. It was horrifying experience in my job. Yeah, so that's why I put it now right on the iPad. Yeah,
yeah.
and with the Bluetooth headphone, I think I hopefully it works. Yeah,
No, it
because
sounds
then
really
I
good.
think yeah, it's a good headphone.
It's a good headphone.
Yeah, so I make.
What type of headphones are they? What do you have?
Now I've got one from JBL actually. So
Okay.
I have, of course, I have many headphones, but this one I tested out because, well, what can I say? Um, some people take drugs. I buy headphones.
Some people
But I
take.
don't, yeah, yeah. So this is really a bad thing because I think it's my 50th headphone or whatever. So I'm trying out. So for serious listening, I have Sennheiser Momentum 3. Yeah,
Okay.
but with all the I think the usual noise canceling headphones, they all put up the bass a bit too
Yeah,
much. I think so. So
exactly.
the bass is in the mids. Yeah. So with some Sennheiser Momentum 3, it's not that bad because it's a very
Hmm.
powerful sound. It's very loud, but it's not that clear.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I went to the shop and I tested a headphone by JBL because I have a speaker from JBL, so a
Hmm.
portable speaker, which is very good, very clear sound. And well, I have to say, it sounded much better than I expected. Not that bassy as I thought. So it's a very
Okay.
bright sound. You can hear details again. Yeah. So because I had the problem when I was listening to records that I really know, every time I use it with newer headphones, I think, well, this sounds different. I missed something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I miss the depths or whatever because it's a very good trick. If you pump up the bass a little bit, of course, this cancels noises out too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a
So
lot of
this
people believe
the
that when the bass is, and a lot of I think normal consumers, they when they hear like, oh, the bass is a little bit high, for some reason they associate bass with quality. I don't know.
No, 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 no. So normally I'm a Sony fanboy, actually, as you may know. But
Yeah.
well, when it comes to headphones, I have to say their sound changed too much into bass right now. So
Mm.
they have the technique. They're very good headphones. They have the best noise canceling. But in terms of details, well, But of course, if you're sitting in the subway or the train, that doesn't matter. But actually, to my larger earphones, I only listen at home. Yeah.
What do
So
you
and then
what
I want to.
which headphones do you use when you're working on music?
There is some classic headphone. It's from Sony MDR 7506. It's produced from the 80s on to today until
Okay.
today. It's a very classic headphone. So if you see people are working in a broadcast, broadcasting for TV, for example, they all have this headphone on. It's a very solid headphone. You get spare parts for every part. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
a great headphone. It's very neutral. Yeah, so there is you can hear the bass, but it's not that overpowering. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
of course you can good mixes. It's nearly as if you listen to speakers, but of course you have to listen to speakers to mix
Of
it.
course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that's always a huge difference. Yeah, which makes producing such a hard thing.
Well, that's always
Yeah.
the difficult. Finding speakers, of course, is sometimes also difficult, but finding the right headphones. I mean, I have AKGs, which I
Mm,
like for mixing because there is just a very slight increase in the bass that you can compensate for because it's really very slight, but you really hear all of the details, and that's what's really
yeah.
important. And it took me a while. I remember when I got my first studio headphones and I was listening to like some of my old stuff and I was like, oh, I should have had these from the beginning.
Yeah, it's the same. I had some speakers from Sony right now, so powered speakers. Yeah, so
Yeah,
just plug in the MacBook,
yeah.
and they sound very good. And now my all my mixes became much better. Yeah,
Okay.
because now I know how to fiddle it out. Of course, when you have new speakers, I always put in or I listen to music that I really know. For
Hmm.
example, uh, Boim Boom Chuck by Kraftwerk, music don't
Yeah,
stop, yeah, because it's a very bassy sound. And if
yeah.
this sounds good on my speakers and I have this as a reference, then I can say, okay, all I can do is to try to make my mixes sound like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, then you come in.
Did that come in the end? But I think, the mixing part is really, even though, the mastering is important, but the mixing is really important. So when
Yeah.
someone sends something if the mix is often, I noticed that in my own music, when I'm creating something, I'll hear something and I'm like, it's not quite right. And then I start to
Mm,
play with it, but I allow myself a couple of days. I come back to it, let my
mm,
ears rest, and then I'll figure it out. With a song I just finished, it was the same thing. I liked the song, but it was dirtier than I wanted, and I kept saying, "Why is it so dirty?" And then I figured out why it was so dirty, and mixed it, and I was like, "Okay, that's the thing." So,
that's the thing,
um,
yeah.
I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things too. Like when you start off, you don't know these things. What what sort of technical things do you think that you have really? That you're really good at now, that you really focused on, where you say, "Oh, I do that a lot better
Hmm.
now," in terms of producing music.
Well, it's a mixing actually. Yeah, so
Yeah, okay.
I know much more about it right now. I know how to use compressors, how to use the stereo picture much better than
Hmm.
before. Yeah,
Okay.
so how to place instruments, and right now I think I found a better way to find balance. Yeah, but it's very tricky, yeah, because it depends on the song. So
Yep.
when you say you have a good mixing, a very good mixing, or a mixing that sounds very good for the song you're already recording,
Yep.
well, if you change the sound, like I often do, yeah, so I have to start up completely from new, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
But yeah, but this is well, but I know what I'm doing. But it's the same if what you said. So before when we first met, I was producing records like, well, I have an idea, I produce it, I record it, and I mix it. There was no rest, no
Yep.
rest. And
Yep.
right now, it took much longer to get the final product. There are so many little parts that you have to be careful. The vocals are always difficult, yeah,
Hmm.
because I'm not recording in the studio, so it's a problem. Yeah, so
Yep.
we have to really find out to fiddle out how the voice comes out because sometimes the mixing is very good, and then you do the vocals over it to say, well, no, there is something wrong. I have to find a new balance. Yeah, and
Yep.
now I'm working on my masterings quite a lot with equalizers, which I haven't done before. Yeah,
Hmm.
and now I realize or I'm learning how they function. So what
Yep.
you can change if you want to have a sound warmer or whatever, yeah, it's a very tricky thing. Tricky thing, a
Yeah,
very
it's
tricky thing.
amazing, but
Yeah.
it's amazing what EQs can do if you really start to break down the individual frequencies and play with them. That you get sometimes a sound where you're like, oh, I didn't realize I could actually bring just that little section a little bit up or a little bit down. It's really rather impressive.
Yeah, but the downside is if you change the equalizer, you have to change the volume of the instruments as well. So it's sometimes you have to say, well, stop. It sounds good as it is, and let's
Yeah.
see. Yeah, Let's see what we can do with it. But well, this is I hate it actually. I don't like to fiddle around with mixing, or it's because sometimes it takes too much time because you have an idea, you record for the last song, for example. The last song Ruben Red I have written in 2 days,
Hmm.
overnight actually. So the best thing is always to go right there, record it, record the vocals as you want them to be in that moment.
Hmm.
Yeah. But if you're mixing for 2 months, sometimes you lost the idea. Then you have to get into that again, which is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So well, that's the only thing that I really don't like about music. It's like work. It's not always funny.
Yeah, because it's true because you have to really be in the moment and figure out it's sometimes it's funny because you're in the middle of creating songs for an EP or for an album and all of a sudden like halfway through you sort of find this EQ or this sound you're like, "Oh, that's the way I want all
Mm,
of them." And then you want to go back and make everything sound like that and you're like, "Oh, but now I have to change this." And you're right, it's like sometimes it's really a lot of work and I think most people don't know. I think people think you just go in the studio and you like do the song and you're done. And
yeah.
people don't understand all the technical stuff that goes in the background.
Yeah, it's very right. It's hard work. It's like a job. Yeah, but of course we both don't have any producer, so that's the point. Normally,
Exactly.
when the Pet Shop Boys go into studio, they have the demo with it. Yeah, and they say, well, this is the demo. Yeah,
Hmm.
do something over it, make something out of it, and we see in 2 weeks, and we record the vocals.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we're out of here. Then
Yeah.
we can go.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but so we are our own producers, which I think it's a very good thing because we are electronic musicians. So, and some people
Exactly.
say, well, electronic musicians are no really musicians. Yeah. But of course, you have to find your own way. I have to record every instrument by myself.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and yeah. So sometimes, of course, I use samples, but on the other hand, or prefabricated
Yeah.
samples if they
Yeah.
if they fit, but normally they don't. So if for a melody you cannot use a sample, for example, you have to play it. You have to first you have to sing the song, then I start to find a bass line for it, and if you have
Hmm.
the bass line, then you can put on other instruments, and then
Yeah.
okay, you say, well, I don't want to listen to this song for, let's say, 3 days if
Hmm.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then okay, you come back, what you can do, what you can add, for example. Yeah. And then, of course, there are the vocals. And I have to figure out what can I do with this song, which maybe I haven't done, yeah, and how far can you go with the voice, without destroying the song,
Hmm.
without becoming too dominant in your own
Exactly.
songs.
Is that
Yeah.
difficult? Is that difficult as a vocalist? Since you're the producer, you're the creator. Is it difficult to find like when you're mixing or when you're trying to get your vocals to blend, is that always a challenge? Because I know just recently I've started to work more with vocals in my own music, and I realized that I have to really learn like how high to put them, how low to put them,
Mm.
how to EQ them so that they actually lay into the song and not they don't overpower it or they're not like overwhelmed by the music. So how is that for you as a vocalist in terms of placing your own vocals in your song?
Well, I have some, let's say, presets that I use for the vocals, so I don't have
Okay.
to fiddle out the equalizer every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say, well, this is with the effects, for example, delay and reverb. So I have a preset that works, and then I can
Okay.
fiddle around with it. Yeah. So and then of course you have to listen to it because if I record the vocals, of course you have the vocals very loud, otherwise you don't hear yourself.
Yeah.
But then of course you listen to the music loud, and then this is very tough to figure out how loud the vocals should be because they are different in the choruses, the chorus and in the lyrics. Yeah,
Hmm.
so there it differs. Yeah, because what I learned from Kraftwerk, for example, is it's very important that sometimes you have to play things loud or with less volume. Then
Yeah.
you can change things in a very subtle way. And then of course there are the backing vocals because sometimes how can I say sometimes the vocals that I'm most proud of are in the background, not
Okay.
with the front voice. Because
Okay.
if I would do it with my first voice, I would destroy the song because
Okay.
I would shout it down. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. When I'm performing live, when I can change within these things because normally I at least have two vocals or two or three voices on a record at
Yeah.
least. Yeah. So there's the main vocal line, the main what I'm the first voice, and I'm not fiddling around with that. I never used anything to pitch it or whatever, because if I can't sing my own song, that would be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
and then you have the background. So I use let's say up to two or three voices, one deeper, one higher. Yeah. It
Hmm.
depends on what the pitch for the song is, and I have a very high range, so I can do many things. Yeah,
Yeah.
if I don't have a cold, which is always the case.
I don't know a single vocalist that doesn't have problems with being sick. I have a friend, um,
Yes.
Pam. She's an opera singer, and we were roommates for I want to say about 2 years. She's so lovely. That's like my big sister, Pamela Lloyd, and she always it was just it hurt it was always she would be on the subway like with her disinfectant and stuff and just because she wanted to protect her voice, but she was the healthiest person I've ever met, but she was always sick, always. And she's like, oh, my
Yeah.
voice. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like
Mhm.
that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, but in my case, it's true. I always have a cold. So
Mhm.
but on the other hand, this sometimes makes the voice interesting, because the best day would be if you get a cold for one day and then you
Mhm.
record, then your voice is very interesting. Yeah, but then of course you have to well, I had a teacher once that learned me
Mhm.
singing. Yeah, that was after I was a singer for 10 years.
Mhm.
Someone said, "Well, you have a good voice, but you're not doing everything that is possible with your voice."
Okay.
So, okay. So at first I was offended. Then I said, "Well, maybe it's like a job, so you have to learn the basis." So I went to her in my hometown Mönchengladbach,
Yeah.
and and I as a singer along a few lines, and she said, "Well, aha, you're that kind of guy."
Okay.
Yes, and well, and then she teach me how to sing, because if you for example, if I have a concert and I have a cold, I
Yeah.
cannot say I do not do this concert. I have to sing, and I have to rely on my voice, and
Yeah.
well, and then you can learn how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're recording new stuff or whatever, and you have something in mind that you want to achieve,
Yeah.
then a call, of course, is not that good. But well, half a bottle of wine will help.
Not a glass, a half a bottle. Just, but
Of
that's why
course.
that's why I
Yeah.
don't sing. That's why when I do have vocal, I rather use vocalists because I can sing, but singing for me is such a stress. I love making the music, but singing is for me is so stressful. I because it's not something that helps me relax or something. I'm
Mm,
just the whole
mm.
time I'm just panicked about am I going to hit the note? Am I going to do this? And what happens if that? And God forbid something goes wrong in my mind, then it's just like I'm done. So I realized that there are people who sing and they sing with joy, and those are the people who I should allow to sing because they really do it with a lot of joy.
Well, it's the same with cooking for me. Yeah, some
Same
people
thing.
love it. I don't.
You don't? I love
No, and
cooking.
no, I don't. And for me, that is stress. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, if someone is able cooking, it's like, well, it's the same thing for me as to say why I'm a singer, because it's some kind of art in a way. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
have a very good friend who was a great cook. The whole family, yeah,
Yeah.
was great in that way. So well, and I had huge respect for it, because I can't. I don't have any feeling for it. Yeah.
Yeah, you really have
And
to. Cooking is one of those things that you have to have a feeling for it because even if you're making something based on a recipe, you still need to have a feeling for what you're doing. And if you
mm,
don't have that feeling, or if
no.
if being in the kitchen feels foreign and stressful, then
Mm.
it's not a great experience.
Yeah, and for me, I can spend endless time on music and
Hmm.
or on my model stuff, and then I'm relaxing. Yeah,
Yeah.
to fiddle to start producing a song, because you always start from scratch. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the same with my I'm a collector of model buildings. Yeah, and it's the same thing. I like to paint for hours, or to draw lines, or whatever is necessary. But cooking for me has to be very fast. When I'm hungry, I want to eat, and I don't and I don't want to wait or waste say 1 hour, and then the result it's not worth it. Yeah. So
Exactly.
no, I tried. I tried. I do really have a nice kitchen here, but I don't use it. I'm an expert in frozen food. That's all.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So into convenient frozen foods, so that's really good.
Yeah, but
I
I buy the better ones. You are
Okay,
here.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of your influences because, I mean, I guess I'm assuming would you define your music more so synth pop, sort of that sort of style? At least that's how I would describe it, even though your style changes over time. But you've been really influenced by people like Pet Shop Boys and Kraftwerk and Madonna. What are some of your other influences, and how do you integrate that into your music?
Mm. Well, my strongest influences are not the Pet Shop Boys or Kraftwerk. It's Eurythmics. Really was
Yeah.
Eurythmics, because when I started making music, I didn't start as an electronic musician. I have to say. So I was listening to bands like Sisters of Mercy. I really was a gothic. Yeah. So and of course
Oh, I love
Eurythmics.
Sisters of Mercy, like Bauhaus
Yeah.
and all that stuff. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah. So and well, because with Eurythmics it was always a different thing because Eurythmics have always been a very visual band,
Yeah.
and I know. Then I was about, let's say it was 1983 or 84. I was about 13, and well, you didn't have that access to pop music like you do right now. If you want to see a video, then you can just go to YouTube. And in
Yeah.
those days, it was not possible. So if you used to switch on your TV, and by accident, well, I saw the video for "Love Is a Stranger" when
Okay.
she was sitting in the back of a car with a blonde
Yeah.
hairdo, and then she pulled it away, and underneath there was that red slick back hair.
Yeah.
And I said, wow. So first, Eurythmics catch me from the visual
Yeah.
part, not, and then of course there's the music because she is one of the best voices, yeah,
Yeah.
in rock music. So was always a role model for me, yeah. And then okay, I always was a singer. Even as a child, I was in a choir in my hometown, yeah.
Hmm.
And then I learned how to sing and to stand before an audience, and yeah. So, and then at one point, I had to decide, well, do you want to imitate people or do you want to make your own kind of music? And of
Yeah.
course, in the beginning, in the 90s, when I was much younger than them, of course, I was imitating people. I had
Yeah.
blonde hair. So I remember my teacher asking me, well, Stefan, where did that blonde hair came from? Madonna, Annie Lennox, or David Bowie? And it got me that day because I really cannot answer. And I was a little bit disappointed to say, well, really, you are a kind of an imitation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my next songs it's called Imitation. Is my life just an imitation? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a simple reflection of whom I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think all musicians start like this. You have an artist, you say, well, it gives me power because I remember back, it was not the easiest phase of my life. So my parents were divorced. I live alone with my mother, who was she was very nice, but on the other hand, a very difficult person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no one to look up to actually. And then, okay, yeah, Eurythmics came in the right time. Because if you listen to Eurythmics music very closely, you realize that there is not one happy Eurythmics song. That no one. Yeah, every Eurythmics song had this sad part in
Yeah.
it, and this was the magic of Eurythmics was to have a bad lyric or a sad lyric combined with happy music. This
Yeah, but I
contrast
would
is
say that's just similar to your music. I mean, you have a lot of songs where you can have a bouncy, but if you listen to the actual song, sometimes the lyrics you realize, oh, this song is about heartache, or this song is
Mm.
about something like that. So how do you balance that? Like you're creating a song, is that deliberate that you may have the lyrics be something that's about heartache, but the music be more sort of energetic and danceable? Is that something that you do on purpose, or that's just how the song sort of organically develops?
Well, sometimes I think the songs are already there. So
Mhm.
it's never like that I go down and sit down and say, well, let's write something. Never.
Yeah.
For example, with the last song that I recorded, Ruben Red, it was I had no idea how the next album should be entitled or what the concept for the next album was.
Yeah.
Was the first time I didn't have any idea. But then from one moment to another, I remember a guy that I met, well, let's say it's about 30 years ago in Mönchengladbach when I had
Okay.
my first own flat in Mönchengladbach. So it was in the middle of the city, in the part that we call in German Altstadt. So there were Kneipen, cafes, bars, etc. Yeah, but
Hmm.
at that time in Mönchengladbach, there was no really gay scene, and I
Yeah.
was very young actually. So yeah, so I lived there for a year, and then I realized because I had a friend who lived on the other side of the street that the gay scene were two bars at the end of my street, and I didn't realize that. One of those bars was called C'est la Vie, and it was a cabaret bar, a very
Okay.
small cabaret bar and complete with a little drag queen show. And the star of this show was a guy called Joe. And and at that night I went there, he was mimicking or performing Here Comes the Rain Again by Eurythmics. Yeah, of course, I listened to it and I see how he does it. And I said, well, okay, that was great. And of course, we talked later.
Yeah.
And somehow I still don't know how it was. We had
Hmm.
a very deep connection, but we only met two or three times. I
Okay.
remember that. And then, let's say half a year later, a friend told me that Joe has died because of
Oh.
AIDS.
Oh,
And at
wow.
those times, people were dying of AIDS. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can look around and say, well, you lose people. Yeah. And this guy told me, well, Joe always spoke very highly of you, and he wanted that you were his black leather jacket. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was, whoa, whoa. I didn't expect, I couldn't handle this at that
Yeah.
moment. And then I got this jacket, and it was still full of his stage makeup, and it's still, you could still smell his perfume. So it
Yeah.
was like the person was in that room. So
Yeah.
this is the story about that song. So that came just to me, and at one evening when I watching a movie or whatever. And then I thought, well, he had always yes, the whitest hair you can imagine, always a white makeup and with bright red lips. And I was looking for an image for the next cover shot, and I liked the idea that he was wearing the same lipstick as Marilyn Monroe, and this color is called Rubin Red by
Okay.
Max Factor, because Max Factor is a very odd company. They work for Marlene Dietrich and for Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And I said that was then suddenly I had the idea for the whole for the album title and of course for the song. Yeah. And so you were Ruben Red like Marilyn Monroe did. So it's and in a way that shows the how the gay scene in Mönchengladbach was at that time. Well, very melancholic, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and oh, well, this then of course you have to try to record it. So that's why it's and you cannot say it's a dance record or not. That the song tells you what it wants to sound like. Yeah,
Exactly.
what I found out, this is one of the rare songs which I have to change my voice for. So this is I sing it differently than sing my other songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's deeper or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, this is the rare occasions when you can do a song in 2 days. So I'm a very visual artist. So to me, it's like seeing a picture and
Yeah.
then try to write it down to produce it as a record.
What's interesting is that I think you're like the third or fourth producer I've talked to, and I'm actually exactly the same. Where I rarely sit down. I never sit down to create a song with an idea of a song in mind. It's just like something inside me is like, oh, I want to do something with, I want to create something, and then I start, and then the song sort of goes from there. So I find that really
Mm,
interesting. But I also have a friend of mine, and he's very deliberate. I mean, he creates very commercial music and that's his thing and he does it very well, but he has a different process because he is very deliberate and because he also works with so many other people, he has to
mm,
have sort of that mentality where when he walks into a studio, it doesn't matter whether a song is organic. It's just by the end of that day, he needs to achieve ABC, you know? And
mm.
we were talking about that, and I was like, that would be too stressful for me. That's just not something I could do.
Yeah, because you have to make a decision when you start as a musician. Do you want to work in a group as a member of a group, or do you want to be a solo artist? And
Exactly.
I had the same problem, yeah, when I was younger. So first I started making a project. Yeah, it was called Double Plus Ungut after 1984.
Okay.
And then I had some friends who worked with me, but I think I was too ambitious. I always wanted to have results. And then it ended up that I was doing everything myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, again, with Eurythmics, because they work in a studio, use synthesizers and drum programming and everything. But when they go on stage, they had always a great band with them.
Yeah.
And then I learned, well, you are more some kind of guy who likes to work alone
Yeah.
to try to create something. And I always wanted to have the freedom to change my style and my direction because that's I think how life is. I mean, in the center you're always the same, but your surroundings are changing. You
Of
always have
course.
to adapt, and your feelings are changing. And right now I learned because now I'm a bit older that you look more forward to the past. Some things
Yeah.
are coming back, and I listen to, let's say, in the last year more to what I to the music that I started with. So to
Yeah.
Sisters of Mercy, because I avoided them for 10 years because I don't want that my music sounds too dark.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to make very impressive recordings when you do it on a darker note or darker
Yeah.
tone.
Yeah.
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 So that's very easy. Yeah. But I learned from the Pet Shop Boys that you have to put up the pitch to make a commercial song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, it's true. And this is that's how I learned. But now I think, well, and then I had a phase when I was listening to all the movie themes by John Carpenter. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think as a musician he's very underrated because
Yeah.
he's an electronic musician and he had so many famous themes. They are all
Yeah.
in our cultural mind, but no one speaks of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but the music, the funny thing is the music that he created for his films, you can play almost any of them, especially from Halloween or from other ones,
yeah.
and people know exactly not only the moment in the film, but they connect that sound with the
Mhm.
emotion that they were feeling at the moment
Yeah,
when they were watching the film, which is really
yeah,
impressive. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it started when I saw well, The Thing again. Yeah, and
Mm.
then I listened to the music and said, well, the music is great. Let's see if I find a soundtrack for it. Yeah, and so I listened to it and yeah, and say, well, this is quite good music. So reduced and everything. He never uses much instruments. No, he can make a song out of, let's say, 5/4 instrument like Kraftwerk do. Yeah, but then he has a very specific sound. And that's why you mastered one of my mixes for the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
single. Yeah, I had a song which calls "I Hope Betrays the Mind," and at some moment I think, well, that would be a great instrumental song without the vocals if you produce it in a way like an homage to John Carpenter would do it. So I
Yeah.
changed the bass. I changed the sound of the drums into the typical Sisters of Mercy drum programming, laughing, which is not laughing, which is running there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, it was quite fun, and it was like it was very this track was very complicated to mix and very complicated to produce because yeah, you have to. It's like a theme
Hmm.
for a movie that was never made. So
Exactly.
the music has to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think for the next album the tone gets a bit darker because I don't want to repeat myself endlessly to just produce danceable pop tracks.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
because yeah, you can make maybe or not of any song you can make a dance track because you remember you have to master one song first. Hold on to your dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave you, let's say, a half a year before, and actually, this I wanted to start with this as a lead single, but
Hmm.
then I changed my mind over and over again. So this actually will be the last single for the next album. Yeah,
Okay.
because I want to set a different tone right now, and the current song is War, which I have written exactly in that phase 30 years ago in Mönchengladbach. Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a demo recording of it. It was very good, but then I never dared to touch it again.
Okay.
For 30 years. I say, well, no, it's not fitting. It's you can't sing a song about war when you have the album entitled Fashionista.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it doesn't fit. So
Yeah.
then there was a moment where I say, well, I want to sing it again. Yeah, because it always had I think a very good melody in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is exactly my voice. So it's a bit darker than I usually sing. Yeah.
You're
So
good. No, no, continue. Sorry.
and well, and then I made a video for it, which is a bit strange, but
Yeah, I
of
saw the
course,
video. Yeah.
yeah, it's very dark. Yeah, but I think so. So this is like a circle right now. So I actually come back to the style of music that I started with. Yeah,
Yeah.
but of course, if I have to, I have a play a little concert in December. And of course, there are the dance tracks. Of course, they're in it because I
Yeah, of
love it.
course,
I
of
love
course.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you have to make a bridge down, yeah,
of
to
course.
start with darker music and end up with lighter music, yeah, because people accept to dance to my music.
Yeah, exactly. But it's nice to
Uh,
give people a surprise and let people know that you can do something else.
yeah.
So we have to take a short break really quick, but when we get back,
Ah,
I want to
okay.
talk with you a little bit about your current project and about one of your favorite projects, but we'll come back in one more second.
Introducing Karen, the bold new EP from the New Ways. This EP dives deep into the cultural phenomenon of the Karen stereotype, transforming social commentary into a rich, rhythmic experience. With its keen awareness of societal trends, the New Ways takes you on a sonic journey that's as thought-provoking as it is immersive. Each track isn't just music, it's a conversation, reflecting the pulse of our times and challenging perspectives. Engage with Karen, an EP that resonates on a profound level, inviting you to dance, reflect, and question. Now streaming on all major platforms.
We're back, and I wanted to ask you, so from all of your projects, because right before I wanted to go back and I just looked it over your whole collection on Spotify again because I know you've done a lot, and I just wanted to get an overview. If you were going to choose one song or one album or one project that you think best represents you, which one would it be?
Ooh, well, that's very hard.
Yeah, I know. Because
Because
I was
no,
looking
I
through so much of it and I was looking through and I'm
yeah.
remembering the songs and then it's so funny because I'm looking through, I'm like, oh yeah, that song, that was a good and this one. And I was just going
Hmm,
through and I was like, yeah, he's done a lot. He's been rather prolific. Yeah.
hmm. Well, maybe some that combines things is maybe it's Killer because the Killer itself is a very old song. I think I've written it 25 years ago. I don't know. Then I made a demo for another album, yeah. And
Hmm.
then last year I decided to re-record it because I think it's I don't know it's my best song, but I think it's a combination of everything. So it's actually a very dark dance song because it's very commercial, but then on the other hand, like a friend of mine said, well, you know that something is not right. Yeah. So
Hmm.
there's a feeling of tension in this song. And yeah, so this song yeah, it really represents how I work because I watched a movie called The Death in Venice
Oh yeah.
by
Hmm.
Visconti,
Yeah.
which is an adaptation from the novel from by Thomas Mann, and it takes place in Venice. I think it is in the early 20s. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is the style of this movie really had a big impact on my life. So that was at that time, let's say it's 25, 30 years ago, when I would just switch on the t television and you concentrate on a movie that is running.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we do not do right now because if
Exactly.
no, yeah, that's the problem. So you have to concentrate. And well, and I like this movie because there was that underlying thing because everything was polished and there
Mm,
with the elegance of the 20s or 30s. I don't know, but there was this underlying gay subtext because there's
exactly.
a very beautiful boy. And there's this older guy from Aschenbach who came to Venice I think it's his first vacation ever. Yeah.
It's
So it's a
always the
very,
older guys looking at the younger guys, huh?
yeah. So now that we are older, You don't really know what the movie is about. Yeah, you have to be
Exactly.
very,
I
yeah,
told someone, a
yeah,
friend of mine, he's like, "Oh, you're really into younger guys." I'm like, "Listen, I'm
yeah.
49 years old. A lot of people are
Mm,
younger than I am. I mean, once you get older,
mm.
mathematically, there are a lot of people who are younger than you."
Well, there's no excuse for that because they just look better. That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. And I really adore beauty. That's a difficult thing, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah. But let's come back. Let better come back to the song. Yeah. So I was very this guy is called Tadgio in that movie, and he's a very in that movie he's a very androgynous guy. Yeah, very, very beautiful. And well, I was very impressed by that. So I want to transfer this plot, let's say, to the 90s or early 2000s, and put the place in the gay bar. So Tajo is in a gay club, and people want to have him, but of course they cannot. The
Yeah,
same situation, only a bit different. So Aschenbach is not
exactly.
coming to Venice. So in this case, Venice is a club. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was the idea behind it. And on the other hand, so I had a picture in my mind. So how this song should sound like. And yeah, so that's why I used typical club sound at the beginning with filters, etc. And I always thought Madonna should sing this song because
Hmm.
it's in her pitch. And so
Hmm.
this my voice in that song is very how can I say it's not that male actually.
Okay.
And well, I think it's not that male.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then, of course, there's the other hand. So I have to, because I have to write lyrics. I met a guy, and he was very like some kind of a killer because he was only interested in himself. He was very proud that he said, "Oh, I don't need anyone in my life."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a very strange relationship, I have to say, that really, literally almost killed me, at least my mind. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was very hard to break up. And then, of course, I sometimes I combine two ideas, and the result is that I know exactly about who I'm singing. So
Yeah.
it's always dangerous to split up with me.
Yeah, well, I think it's like the same thing when you break up with like Adele or someone
Mm,
else. It's like don't break
mm,
up with Adele because Adele
yeah,
is gonna write an album and she's gonna destroy you. So
yeah.
don't do it. Don't break
Yeah,
up with her.
yeah. There's another song on the next album called Johnny. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about a guy I met. Oh, I think you know him too. Yeah, he came from Italy over to Berlin. Yeah, you're befriended maybe on Facebook. I don't know. He was a photographer. He is a photographer. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a song about him, and I have to say it's not. I can tell you that. Yeah, but it's not the. I don't want it to be too hard because
Yeah.
it's 15 years ago, so I don't know why I'm writing a song about him. Maybe because his name fits so perfectly into the lyric, and
Yeah.
this is a very a different song than to what I made before. Yeah, so yeah, you have to be fair. That's the point. And sometimes things have to rhyme. Yeah, you have to choose.
Hmm.
Well, do you want to be fair or do you want it to sound good? Yeah,
Exactly.
that's yeah.
But I think that also has to do with what you said earlier about the fact that as you get older, you start to think about things in the past. And I think that sometimes, especially as an artist, you need the time and the life experience to sort of look back at situations and then assess them in a way that's more fair because you have distance and you have knowledge, you have more life experience. And so I think that's why
Mm.
sometimes there's songs you're like, why am I writing about this person 15 years later? Is because I think at that point you're ready to. That earlier would not have been the right point to
Mm.
write a song
Yeah.
about that person or about that situation.
Yeah, well, I really don't know. That is again one song that just was in my mind from one moment to another. Yeah, and then I had an image, yeah, of what yeah, it's like watching a movie. So,
Yeah.
no, what is this guy is doing and that stuff. And yeah, and so that's well, of course it's music. So if I put it down, I don't think about it anymore. That
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's the same thing. But at that moment, you have to really be on spot. So you have to be very very clear about what you're writing down there because I don't want to hurt people.
Yeah,
But
of
on the
course.
other hand, I want to say the truth. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that yeah, well, there was at one moment. Well, do I choose another name? Yeah, different
Mm.
name. Yeah. where I say, well, you can, but then the whole song is not sounding very good anymore. Yeah, this is the key to the song is this name. Yeah,
Yeah, but
so
it's
well,
also a
yeah,
very generic name, you know? So it's not like
hope,
it's, I mean, it's a very
hopefully,
generic name. Yeah. So
hope we see in a half a year later what happened.
exactly when you
Yeah.
when you send me a message, you're like, he's suing me, So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, of course. I think he will realize that. So it's a very, very late revenge.
I found it really interesting that you wrote the last single, so War No More, such a long time ago because
Mhm,
I thought with the current sort of political and
mhm.
situation here with Ukraine and stuff, I thought that maybe it was a reference to that because I find it's also rather appropriate for that. But how much, I mean, your personal relationships, of course, inspire a lot of your music, but how much does maybe social or current situations also inspire you to create, or do you integrate that as part of your process at all?
Of course, yeah, because it's always there. You just cannot avoid it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
right now we have a very critical phase in our country here. Yeah, so
yeah.
well, of course I'm thinking about that. And the problem with war, if you write a song about war and you're not affected by it personally, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so how what to write down? Yeah, and I had that image that someone is talking to a child. So this child is sleeping during that war. And hopefully there will be a day when this kid will wake up and
Mm-hmm.
everything is over. And will there be a tomorrow?
Yeah.
So this is a very abstract way, and of course it functions, yeah, because I cannot say, well, I have any experience with that, yeah.
Yeah.
But what would, yeah, it's let's say this is in a way this is a song about fear. And fear, I think, is the strongest topic right now at the moment.
Yeah.
You can see that you can win elections with fear.
Yep.
Yeah, so fear is a fundamental thing that is in every one of us. So and right now, well, I believe that history is always let's say how repeating itself, not
Yep.
in the same way, but it's like the same, or it's like a theater plot with
Yep.
changing backdrops. Yeah,
Yep.
and I think it's only my opinion that it's always about conquering or defeating something.
Yep.
Yeah, and whether or not, when we are, how can I say, we are still part of the evolution, and we are a very aggressive race. Yeah,
Yep.
and yeah. So this is we're always defending things in a way. So that's what I see now that I'm a bit older. So we're defending our territory.
Mm-hmm.
We are defending our wealth. What we like or not, our attitude, or even skin color, whatever you take. It's always
Yep.
defending things. Yeah, and well, and of course, on the other hand, there is architecture, there's art, there's culture. But I think we came to a point where art or even music is no longer evolving. There is
Mm-hmm.
we are I think we are more endlessly repeating stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So I grew up in the 80s, which was a very, very creative decade. So
Yep.
look at all the movie pictures, look all the themes that were built up, all the bands that came together there, the sound that was created,
Yep.
and the images that were created. And we're still ripping upon these images today. Yeah, so there is Spider-Man 25.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I think is enough thing, but maybe we are, how can I say, we are dealing with other things right now. So in the 80s, there were no social media, whatever,
Yeah.
nothing. So you don't have the necessity to represent yourself in the public. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even for the artists, if they want to say something about them, they gave interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were
Exactly.
always staged. You were on MTV, or you were at a music
Yep.
magazine or a
It was
newspaper.
very
So this,
controlled communication. It
yeah.
was very controlled. Exactly.
Yeah, and people, I think, therefore, people have to think about what they want to say. They have to very, very be on focus at that time,
Mm-hmm.
at that days. Yeah.
Of
So right
course.
now it's quite different. So many people are just look in the subway. Yeah, everyone is checking something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they are not at the moment, and I think. As a metaphor for how we are, the subway in Berlin is a very good example
Yep.
because there are people crowded together. Yeah,
And no
but
one's looking at each other. No one's looking at
no,
anything.
no, they are not connected. So everyone has the noise canceling headphone on and is living in his own bubble and consuming only the media or information he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this is not because of ignorance. It's because the information has become so immense. Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot avoid it. You're always forced to have an opinion to something, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not, or if
Yeah.
you want to comment something. Yeah. And this is a stress we didn't have when I
Yeah.
was younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this right now is combined to, I think, an underlying fear that things are changing, that there is no guarantee for anything anymore. And I
Yeah.
don't want to see that negative, but yeah, you right now you have the impression that our leaders are not able to handle it anymore.
Yeah.
So remember, it's 2 weeks ago, yeah, that when the same day when Trump was elected and the
Hmm.
German coalition exploded.
Yeah.
That was a day. It was
Yeah.
too much to take,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, and this is fear is in people, and there are other people who knows how to use it. Yeah,
Yeah, this fear
and
and
this is.
this uncertainty. It's like people really can find a way to really manipulate people's emotions and their way of thinking to get them to confuse them in a way. You know, I think
Mm,
a lot of people I think especially a lot of maybe I don't know if it's just younger people, but I think a lot of people in general, I think if you were raised during a time where there was no social media like we were, then you really had more. I find that you had more sort of sense of self. Like you were really sort of your morals and what's important to you were really set at an early age because it was really important because your 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 whole social structure wasn't built online. It was built really in face to face with people. So
mm,
this sort of interaction sort of gives you a really great sort of, I think, a great moral ground because you can't hide behind a computer screen if you want to be a bully back in the day. You
no,
know,
no.
if you wanted to be a bully, you had to do it face to face. That means you really
Yeah,
had to, you had to, and there's a huge difference, you know?
yeah, it had consequences in those days.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and there's no consequence in anything anymore. Yes, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can write down whatever you want. Yeah. So this is you can create an image that is not yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Facebook. So that's I think it's a really problem. And when I look back, when I start listening to music or watching movies, I don't know how many times I listened to my favorite albums or how many times I watched Star Wars, for example. It
Mhm.
must be in the hundreds right now. So we didn't, or I at least didn't consume music. So
Yeah.
I didn't have the money to buy let's say 20 albums in a week. So now you have, let's say Apple Music or Amazon Unlimited. You can hear
Yeah,
do
exactly.
as much music. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to be sure about it. Just
Yeah.
try it. Yeah. And this, I think, brings out an effect that we're not concentrating on the creative products or art of other people anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see, or with I love Netflix, I love Apple and Disney or whatever, but sometimes I find myself that I'm not really, how can I say, watching a movie. So if
Yeah.
it didn't catch me in the first 10 minutes, I grab my iPad and do something else, yeah, while watching a
Yeah,
movie. And
exactly.
this is not a way how to interact with something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
So,
course.
and there's an emptiness, I think, that people, well, it's hard to say if it didn't have it in the 80s or the 90s, but I had a lot to do with children in my work. And
Hmm.
I see that so many, and they're very young, they're, let's say, 13, 14, up to 15 sometimes, and some of them really believe that they have no chance in life,
Mm.
and then I always ask them to describe themselves,
Yeah.
who they are. Yeah, what are you doing? Are you doing sports or whatever? Are you creative or whatever? Just to learn about
Yeah.
this person. And then so many of them can't say anything. Yeah, I don't have any interest or whatever. Not that many, but it's say in a class of 15 people, it's always one.
Yeah, because we
That's
can always nowadays there's always something to distract you from yourself. And
yeah,
so
always.
you don't have those moments like we did when we were younger where you were by yourself. You had to play by yourself. You had to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
You had to do something. So nowadays there's always something externally that you can concentrate on. And that means that people aren't really concentrating on themselves. Therefore, they don't
Mhm.
know what they like or who they
Yeah.
are or what they're interested in even.
Exactly, and I think we are very lucky that we have,
Yeah.
let's say, something like music that always grabbed us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if what I learned is if I have an idea, I have to immediately start working on it.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
So I don't wait any. It could be in the middle of the movie. I stop it and I go to my MacBook and start working on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a great relief to have music there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you don't have this is a problem. Yeah. So then, of course, there's an emptiness. I remember back when I was a child, and so we were playing around with things. I was playing with my Star Wars stuff for, let's say, 5 years without having seen the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, because at that days it was difficult. It was, let's say, Star Wars came out in 1977, and I had my Star Wars stuff at 1980 or whatever. And of
Yeah.
course, you could only watch these movies if you go to a cinema. And of
Exactly.
course, they were not playing continuously. So there was,
Yeah.
let's say, one time in 2 years they
Yeah.
were playing the movies again.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was very difficult. So I remember the day when I first saw Star Wars, and it had the same impact on me. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was like, whoa. Yeah, this is so my first idols, you asked me, who influenced me, was Mr. Spock of Star Trek, of
Yeah,
course,
of
and then
course.
Darth Vader. So yeah, and and combine that with the Pet Shop Boys, and then of course you
Yeah.
know how my music sounds.
Oh my God, that's great. What's so interesting is what you just said is true. Like a film came out, and once it left the cinemas, then you either had to, before there was even the VHS tape, you had to wait. You knew it was going to come on television, but it was
Yeah,
always a year or two later. So you had this period where you're like, oh, I missed it in the cinemas. At
yeah,
some point it's going to come. So
yeah.
we'll have that. Yeah.
And for
Since we,
start,
yeah.
hmm?
No, continue. Yep.
No, and remember back how long it took Star Wars to be available on tapes or whatever.
Yeah,
It took
forever.
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this was a very hard time. So you have to watch it and then remember it. Yeah.
exactly.
And that was I was even if you go to a movie before, you were standing before the posters and were imagining things. Yeah.
Yeah,
How would this movie be? Yeah. I was standing in front of the Return of the Jedi poster, which was great. Yeah.
yeah,
I say, well, look at this, or I stand before the poster for Dune with the
yeah,
sandworm on it and the thousands of soldiers, and I say, well, what a movie, yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, so this is there was we were forced to be more imaginative
Yeah,
in those
exactly.
days.
I totally agree. Since we're coming close to the end, I wanted to make sure that we have time to talk about your current projects or what you're working on now, when this is going to come out. So tell me a little bit
Hmm?
about what you are currently doing, what people can expect in the near future.
What people can expect.
What
Well, that's a
people
good.
can expect. Yeah. People, I
Well,
mean, people are listening, people are listening.
um,
It's not like, you're not creating music for a vacuum. There are people who listen. It's funny because even my former roommate, when I first moved here into this apartment, he would hear sometimes when I would be like making remixes and stuff, and then I forget which song, but one song from you like caught him. So I know he listens to you rather often because this one song caught him, and then like he went to work and he came back that night and he was like, "Oh, I listened to the whole album. It was really good. I listened to," and so he was really into it, which I thought was really nice.
yeah, yeah, it is. So what I'm working right now. So right now I'm working on finishing the mixing and maybe some new songs for the next album. I
Okay.
don't know when it will come out because
Okay.
this thing is a bit more difficult right now, because the sound has changed, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Then how can I say? I don't want to have any big breaks in this album. I wanted to have it sound, how can I say, cohesive. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, yeah. And hold on to your dreams, as you know, is a dance song. So this will be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but okay, let's see. Yeah. And yeah, then I will, what I try to do is to finish Ruben Red, within the next week. So I sent you a demo of it, which is already finished, but there are some things that has to be fiddled around a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I want to release that song on the 13th of December because there is a small concert at Posh Teckel, my bar.
Yeah.
And when we're celebrating achievement Judith, the owner of the bar, has made. So this would be, if everything turns out right, this would be a great night. So we have to celebrate with her. Then it's the same day the single comes out, and I will perform it live. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
So, and of course, I have to finish the video until then, because this is something I have to do right now, because I really learned that now when I'm performing, there's always a video backdrop.
Yeah.
So and of course I have to make these videos myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is which is I think I learn right now how to make interesting videos, how to editing and that stuff. Yeah. And this is quite demanding.
It's so interesting that as you start off creating music, and then at some point you realize you need other things and you have to do it yourself, and then you become, filmmaker, video, all these different
well, no, I'm not a filmmaker.
Film, but I mean, you start to develop, you have to develop other skills out of necessity in order to present something in a way you want to present it, because, yeah.
And it was a necessary next step, because let's say I was first doing it for a concert in last November.
Yeah.
And at that point you can download apps which I was able to make this happen, what I had in mind when doing videos, all that stuff. Before I could not. Yeah. So this was always a problem. So even it's a problem to synchronize music with video. It's difficult. And at that point, it worked for me quite good. Are you still there?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, it's so quiet.
No.
And I thought maybe our time is over.
No, of course. No.
And then, because I want to make because I'm alone on stage, on the computer and myself. And I wanted to make the concert more dynamic, and all the acts that I like, Kraftwerk or Pet Shop Boys, are using video backdrops.
Of course, yeah.
So, and it makes quite an impression if you have part of the lyrics projected then, or it's very dynamic, or just to have different image in your background, so that
of
people
course.
could dive into, and they don't have to look at yourself for let's say an hour.
Exactly.
Which is kind of boring, and I can relax much more, because I know then I can really start to enjoying performing live, because I don't have to rely all on myself.
Exactly.
But that is the problem for every song, of course. If you want to perform it live, you need a video backdrop for it. And
exactly.
You have to have the good idea. So something that really works. Yeah. And for the next song it will be difficult, because Ribbon Red is a step into the past. Yeah. It's into my personal past. So I had to look at Google to find my own house where I was living in, the street where I was living in, and of course, on that street there is no street view.
Of course.
So I had a great problem, because it's the middle of the city, but it's one of the only streets in Mönchengladbach which is not on street view. Maybe because it's so ugly, I don't know. But that was the street, so I have to try something else. So what I wanted to do is to zoom in, and of course this cabaret does no longer exist. It's a long time ago, and I didn't even find the name on the internet, which is very interesting.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So it's so long ago that it's not, let's say, in the archives.
Yeah. Wow, that's really wild. Well, we've come to the end of our time for today. So as usual, it's been really interesting. It's been lovely catching up with you, and so I was really happy. I'm always happy when I get when I get the message saying, okay, I have new stuff, even though it takes me a while to get to it, but I'm always just like really thrilled. So, and it's every time you send something, I'm always like, okay, I'm always surprised at your new direction. Like I'm like, oh wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. So there's always something unexpected. So I'm looking forward to the new stuff, and thank you for being my guest today.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah.